And we are live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Living World of Darkness. This scene is for the Mage venue, and so this is yet another edition of New York Street Magic. Our scene starts off in the sort of lobby of an office in a high-rise in downtown Manhattan, where one Marjorie Keller, better known as Maggie, is currently fidgeting in a sundress and a nice looking pullover jacket that she has not worn probably since her sister's wedding about a year and a half ago. So she feels a bit awkward in this clothing considering it's not her usual attire, but she feels that she's looking nice today. And she's currently sitting with her hand on her messenger bag, sort of tapping nervously with her fingers across the buckle, knowing that today is the day that they either secure or don't secure representation for 19967, or better known as Ginger, the Alice Through the Looking Glass mage. And to that end, she sits and waits, having arrived probably painfully early for the appointment, probably close to 45 minutes to half an hour early. And she's been sitting there being as focused as possible, playing over in her head what she needs to say over and over and over. And it's here that we start our scene.
It begins with the secretary stopping the clacking on her computer. She picks up her phone. Maggie hears a few, yes. Yes, one's here. All right then. And he will get up and walk over to her. Miss Keller?
Yes.
Miss Figueroa will see you now.
Thank you. She'll stand up, put the strap over her shoulder, take a deep, deep breath, calm her nerves, and make her way into the office.
They're sitting in an office that appears to be mostly made of windows overlooking this part of Manhattan is a very sharply dressed woman who appears to be going over something in a manila folder. When you walk in, she calmly closes the folder, looks you in the eye, and gives you a very sure smile. Hello. Please take a seat.
Maggie will return the greeting and take a seat.
So, what can I help you with today, Miss Keller?
Well, my friends and I, sort of are collectively caring for a young woman by the name of Ginger, um, who has been troubled for as long as I have known her. And about a week, 2 weeks ago or so, she was involved in an incident where she attempted to kick me in the head. Um, Luckily, it didn't do any damage or any lasting damage. Um, but it did wind up getting her arrested for disturbing the peace. And given that she has a history of these, I suppose, violent tendencies, um, we're worried about the progress that she's made since getting out of a facility similar to what they're likely to put her back into. And we want to make sure that she has the best representation that the city has to offer. And after an exhaustive internet, you kept coming up more and more and more. And so finally, I decided that if you'll have us, um, you would probably be the best choice to ensure that Ginger's best interests are looked out for.
She by now has pulled out a notebook and has begun scribbling the key points of your notes down. She listens fairly intently. You can tell that she's mulling all of this over as you describe it to her. All right, then, what kind of end result are you looking for?
We feel that Ginger being in a facility would be counterproductive, um, and possibly more harmful to her mental well-being, care of those that she trusts and loves. Um, she's extremely codependent on a few key members of our grouping, so to speak. And I think without them, she'll wind up being more of a danger to herself. So our goal is to get her out of the system if at all possible.
I see, so you're looking to avoid prison and institutionalization?
Yes, that would be the ideal.
Does your friend have any previous records?
She does. And I don't know if you need me to roll anything for it, Shelby, but she will go over the best information that Ken gave her that night that they were walking out of the local jail.
You'll see her start to write it down. I see. Where is your friend now?
Ginger?
Yes.
She's currently awaiting arraignment for a bond hearing to see if she'll be remanded or if she will be able to be bailed out. So currently she is, I would assume, either in a cell or in a clinic, one or the other, whichever they have deemed more appropriate for her given her condition.
I see. Are you also looking to try to set a low bail?
If at all possible, yes.
She continues taking notes.
Maggie sort of sits back and just kind of keeps an eye on uh, Rachel and sort of just kind of taking her all in, noticing mannerisms and sort of if there's any tells or any signs of what she can see. And if you'd like, I can roll a perception empathy.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's one success.
She seems to handle herself with a lot of ease. Like, she seems pretty much perfectly in control right now.
Maggie just sort of sits there and watches.
And she starts kind of laying out how many hours things will take. Generally, things like that, the billable hours, and then extra work she can put in if it's requested. And she will hand Maggie a chart. She doesn't, however, have set rates written down. She looks at her expectantly as if waiting for an offer instead.
May I roll intelligence law to see what we're dealing with here?
Sure.
All right. And oh no, that was for a scene, wasn't it? Not the whole day.
Right, you're
Right.
stuck with your base stats right now.
Ah, nuts. Well, 3 successes. I can handle that.
Okay. Um, it looks like a fairly large amount of hours. You think generally for a low tier lawyer when you were looking things up, it maybe would have cost a grand total of about 9,000. For the higher end lawyers, it went roughly between 15,000 to 19,000.
Maggie looks at the figures and she looks at sort of her own sort of records as to what she was sent forward with, and she writes a figure on a in her steno book, and she'll just sort of slide it across the table, and the figure says just straight up 14,000.
She takes the figure, kind of cocks an eyebrow a bit.
Perception, empathy.
Sure.
I got nothing.
Not really sure what that look means.
Maggie looks visibly uncomfortable, probably to the point where she is chewing on her lower lip. In her head, it's like, oh, I fucked it up. I fucked it up, didn't I?
Are you looking for my services for both cases?
I, that was the hope. I don't. This whole process is a bit new to me. Um, I have limited dealings with the legal system, so I don't know what you know, an attorney of your caliber goes for on a retainer. Um, but this is what a lot of us could get together while still having some in reserve just for eventualities that may come up.
If you'd like to put that forth as a retainer, you can, but understandably, I would do the work for that and take your bills out of that amount. If I needed any further, I would have to charge you again.
Is that a bridge that we can cross when we get to it?
I've had clients that have chosen to do it that way, yes.
She just kind of has this sort of earnest look in her face. What what do you think our chances are, Miss Figueroa?
I think that there are a lot of factors present here at the moment. While it would be easy, from what you've told me, to get a plea deal for guilty by reasons of insanity, from what I'm hearing, that's not what you're looking for.
No, it's not, unfortunately.
At our best, she leans over to her computer, types a few things. I think that our best bet would be getting her some form of light sentence. If nobody's pressed charges and nobody was injured, it helps our case a bit. At the moment, with what you've given me, I may be able to shoot for hours of community service.
That would be acceptable. It would mean that she's not locked up in a cage.
As for bail, if she has prior records, does she have a history of dodging bail?
I don't believe so, no.
That may be able to help. Has she been bailed out before?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Has she been bailed out before?
I don't believe so.
And the previous cases, was she simply charged with something? Has she done any prison time?
I believe she was placed in a facility and then she was subsequently released to a guardian. And she'll mention whatever alias that Ken uses at this point.
I see. Are you helping to represent this guardian?
Um, I am looking out for Ginger. I don't know if that what that entails on his front. We've all kind of come together on this in one go. Unfortunately, he's been extremely ill as of late and hasn't been able to put forth much in the way of help, understandably.
I see. She seems to be pondering, weighing the pros and cons of taking this particular case.
Miss Figueroa, have you ever been so adamant about something, seen a wrong in front of you that's not particularly anybody's fault directly, but it's just something that you know has to be righted?
Would you like to make me either a charisma leadership or a charisma empathy roll?
I will go with charisma empathy. And if I'm allowed, I will be spending a willpower point on this.
Sure.
Wow. One, two, willpower three, plus if the charming flaw help or specialty helps here, that is a total of 7 successes.
Yeah, I'd say charming helps. She looks between you to the figure pressed to her own notes. There is like another very long pause before she begins to gather everything together and place it in an empty manila folder. She will write down the name M. Keller on the folder. Very well then. I'll take your case.
I am going to roll her manipulation subterfuge. One success on to not be visibly emotional about it. I'm guessing that Figueroa can see that there is a wash of emotions between a happy sense of relief and sort of that verge of a lump in the throat, just based on sort of that all of that stress that's been building up over the past week. Sort of slowly getting at least some reprieve.
She just gives Maggie a very confident, sort of friendly look. She doesn't say anything, though.
Maggie just sort of sits there, sort of fidgeting with the strap on her bag. I thank you.
Of course, Miss Keller. She'll reach into her desk and pull out one of her very, very nice, barely off-white business cards and hand it to her. We'll be in touch.
Maggie, Maggie takes it and offers it out of hand.
She will take it in a very firm grip and shake it.
Maggie will give it a friendly squeeze with one hand cupped over Hogarth's. So I'm sorry, Figueroa's, and basically do the two-handed handshake, more or less. And she puts her bag on and excuses herself and makes her way out of the office.
And as she does, Miss Figueroa will turn back to her computer and she'll type a few numbers into her phone. And unless there's anything else you'd like to do,
Nope, that will be it.
I think this is a good point to end our scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you to our watchers for watching. This has been another scene for Living World of Darkness Street Magic.